Ek gesels met Johnathan Katz en hy is van Hume Internationaal. Ons praat 'n bietjie oor die eiertekort wat ons in die gesig staar hier in Suid-Afrika. Jonathan, welcome to Groot Plaas.
Mia, thanks for having me.
It is a huge pleasure. Jonathan, let's start with the beginning. What is the current situation with the egg shortage crisis in South Africa?
So, as everyone is aware, there's been a recent outbreak of avian flu, which has affected millions of birds. It's having an effect not just on poultry meat, but also on eggs, because the layers, which are the hens that are making the eggs, are also affected. According to industry, they've had to destroy about 6 million birds, and these are 6 million egg-laying birds. So it's having a major impact on the industry.
Now, why are experts calling this a critical issue? I mean, haven't we seen this before?
Well, I think in the past, it was to a lesser degree of infected birds. And at the time, there was a crisis because government hadn't put in place effective measures to, A, control the spread, and B, to look at how the industry is affected. Because it's not just the eggs that we eat for breakfast and as a meal. It's the eggs that are used in the industry to make mayonnaise, in the baking industry. Eggs have a very big application in the industry, and that's where the major shortage lies.
Could you by any chance explain the key provisions of Regulation 345 and how does it impact the sale of imported eggs in South Africa?
So Regulation 345 applies to table eggs, which are the eggs that we use as consumers. So that's one part of the equation. There's also the dried eggs, as well as the liquid frozen eggs, which I can discuss a little bit later. The Regulation 345 is actually there to protect the consumer, to make sure that they're buying the right grades, the right size, that the eggs are within a safe eating period, which is normally 40 days. And it's there to protect the consumer and to make sure that industry doesn't sell eggs that are old and sell eggs that are marked grade 1 or large size, and meanwhile you're getting a small egg. So it's there to protect the consumer.
I think many of us, the past few weeks, when we go to the shops, some days there are eggs, other days there's just nothing. Is it a very up and down situation? How is that being controlled? Do you know?
So what I've heard is that a lot of the eggs that are in and around the industry, the ones that are available, are being converted into liquid egg to make it safe. And those eggs that are available are in very short supply. So there's definitely a drop. And some retailers are able to get eggs, and others are only allowed to get a certain number of eggs to the consumers. And it seems that the shortage of eggs is gonna A, keep the prices high, and B, it's going to be something that's not going to go away very soon. There will be some days where you'll find eggs that are selling for 150 Rand for 30 eggs, and might even go up from that because there's just not enough supply of eggs.
I don't want to put you in the hot seat, but just, is there any indication, is there any end at sight when we look at the situation holistically, when we look at precautions being taken, people trying to control the situation? Is there any end at sight?
I think it's going to be very long until we are in a position to say that it's under control.
Yes.
The spread of the virus has been stopped, according to industry. The number of cases has dropped, so it seems as if they have the spread under control. They are replacing the layers with imported fertilized eggs, and what that means is that the 6 million birds that had to be killed have to be replaced. they can only replace it with brown hens, because, as you know, South Africans like brown eggs.
Yeah.
And those brown chickens are actually more scarce than the more common white birds. So that's also going to take long. I also don't think that the government realizes the impact it's going to have, the long-term impact, because they're being guided by the South African Poultry Association. If I just look at what the media is saying, the minister has signed permits for 1.9 million eggs. But if one looks at 6 million birds that have been killed, those birds are laying about 5 million eggs a day. Because if we say that a chicken lays, about six eggs a week, it's quite easy to say that there's 5 million eggs that are being laid every day. So the 1.9 million eggs that are being imported is just a drop in the ocean. And I don't think that the government is realizing, the impact that this is having on the industry.
Yeah, and I actually want to take time and just, you mentioned now the imported eggs. I hear you, but is it helping with the egg shortage at the moment, potentially?
So if one looks at the outside world, the export of eggs, there are billions of eggs being exported from countries like Brazil and Argentina on an annual basis. Because a lot of countries in Africa, for example, don't have adequate layers for egg production. So Brazil, the stats and the facts are there that refrigerated eggs that come from Brazil are very safe. They are exactly the same eggs that one would eat here. Most of them are white shell, but the white shell eggs are just from a different coloured hen, and they're perfectly nutritious, and there's nothing wrong with the product. There is some incorrect information that has been provided that says that refrigerated eggs are not safe or they're old eggs. That's completely wrong. In fact, once the eggs arrive, the Department of Food Safety Quality, they inspect the shipment to make sure that those eggs are within a certain quality. So they apply Regulation 345 to those eggs just to check for any issues with the eggs, the shell, if there's blood spots inside the egg or air inside the eggs. I'm not sure if everyone is aware, but they have a very important role to play. And they are supporting us. That's the Department of Food Safety Quality Assurance.
I think if we look at the long-term strategies to try and address, the egg shortage, what are some of the long-term strategies? So
overall, long-term, there has to be a combination of liquid egg, which is frozen and pasteurized overseas and brought in to South Africa, table eggs, which is the eggs that are consumed by the people for meals, and also powdered egg, which is brought in for specific application.
Yeah.
That has to be well balanced. But the largest volume is definitely the table eggs, and that I think is going to have the most immediate effect, especially on price. And if one looks at the cost of eggs and how it's gone up, it's going to stay high, and a lot of people are going to be are unable to afford those eggs, and that's where I think the greatest tragedy lies.
Just according to you, what misconceptions do you think there are when we look at the misconceptions around the quality of white shelled eggs and brown shelled eggs? What misconception, and how does that affect the egg industry in South Africa?
So a lot of people believe that the brown eggs are better than white eggs. However, it's completely wrong, because the quality of the egg is exactly the same. It's just the type of bird that lays the egg. It's a different species of chicken that lays it, and the nutritional content is exactly the same. Most of the imported liquid egg and the imported powdered egg that's coming in is actually from white eggs. In fact, there's the vast majority of eggs that are produced around the world are white eggs, because those particular species are able to produce more eggs. And we have this misconception that the quality of an imported egg is not good, but the eggs come in refrigerated containers. They're fresh eggs. They're laid on a date, and then they land in South Africa within 40 days. And then beyond that, the refrigeration actually helps to extend the shelf life to 6 months. So if you compare that to a standard egg that we have in the shelf, which is 40 days from the time it's laid, you have a much better shelf life, and the quality of the egg is perfect. Another thing I must mention is once the eggs arrive, the Department of Food Safety Quality Assurance, they inspect the eggs for quality, and so they will not allow us to sell eggs that don't pass the requirements of 345. So we can't sell eggs that are rotten. Yes. Because we won't be allowed to do that.
Absolutely. I'm really learning a lot from you this morning. Thank you so much for your knowledge and just for keeping us up to date. Thanks for talking to us this morning.
Thank you, Mia. It was good to chat.